guys, we've got a fun review today because we're talking about part 1 of season 4 of Titans. Even if every single season of Titans has many ups and downs, I always have a lot of fun talking about the series on the channel. Now, like I said before, this is part 1 of season 4. They're changing things up a bit. They're going to be releasing it in 2 parts. You're going to get the first 2 episodes this week, and then it's going to be 1 episode per week until the end of part 1, and then we're going to get part 2, I'm assuming sometime next year in 2023. Seems like a lot of shows lately are doing the 2-parter now. We saw it with Stranger Things last season. We saw it with Better Call Saul. Even Doom Patrol's doing it. It's a very hot thing to do right now. This release format, I admit, makes things a bit more tricky to gauge where the plot will go over the course of the season, especially since admittedly the season does start out quite slowly, but based around just seeing the first 3 episodes of season 4, there are a lot of interesting setups here for the story and where we potentially could lead these characters as we are delving into a bit more horror-tinged, darker material. Titans has always gone for a darker, more mature direction, but I think this might be the darkest season among the 4 seasons so far, shining through the most when setting up the main threats of the season in Mother Mayhem and Brother Blood with lots and lots of bloodshed. A surprising amount if I'm being honest. I mean, I'm talking bloody snakes bursting out of people, you have bloody hallucinations, you have people getting stabbed in their eyeballs with scissors. Pretty nasty stuff here. The bloodshed is at an all-time high with this season so far. But all of this mayhem is the catalyst for the main mystery they're trying to get to the bottom of in these first couple episodes with a big threat looming on the horizon. Last season, I thought it was pretty awesome having the season set within Gotham City and we got to be introduced to iconic characters like Barbara Gordon. This season, I feel like we're kind of trying to replicate that similar magic because the Titans are now set up in Metropolis. We get to see Star Labs. They get some really fun new gear from Star Labs. If I'm being honest, even though they say that everything's set within Metropolis, it doesn't really feel like Metropolis at all. If you had told me this was any other place, I would have believed you. The only thing that really makes it feel like Metropolis, I guess, is you have a statue of Superman in one of the episodes. Other than that, this could have been anywhere. While unfortunately we don't have Superman in the story so far, we do get the introduction to Lex Luthor in this. His introduction is important as it pretty much sets the main story into motion narratively, and I do think he does do a great job in the role. I'm not as familiar with the new actor playing Lex Luthor in this. Appearance-wise, he reminds me a lot of John Cryer's portrayal of the character in Supergirl, but the clashes between Lex Luthor and the Titans are pretty enjoyable. Having that usual charisma that Lex Luthor always has, while also doing some other things along the way. I did think it was pretty funny that he sends ninjas to fight Nightwing and Tim Drake. It's a great battle. It's just funny to me that Lex Luthor just has ninjas on call to send to fight people. But the other thing that I do think was important is his involvement in more character growth for Connor. Since it's been well established by now that he is part Lex Luthor, but we haven't had them meet until this moment, and the scenes that they do have together in the first episode I thought were pretty good. Unfortunately, I was left a bit frustrated by the end when it comes to the writing for the character, because it felt like, to me, we were setting up some really interesting stuff for Lex Luthor, and then we just completely pivot by the end and go in a completely opposite direction than what I was anticipating. So definitely some subverted expectations there. I can't really delve into it too much because it would be spoiler territory, but I will just say I feel like the marketing for Lex Luthor and his involvement in season 4 has been a bit deceiving. It's crazy to say this because we are 4 seasons into the series, but I do think that they are getting a better grasp when it comes to the team dynamic for the Titans and also just a better grasp of the characters themselves. It's great to see that Tim Drake is starting his actual training. We give him his bow staff. We have Gar actually learning a bit more about transformation, so we get to see a couple other different animal transformations here. But the big ones here, Dick Grayson, Corey, and Rachel. Those are like the big 3 standouts for the Titans, usually in every season, but this one also. Brendan Thwaites is always fantastic leading the team as Nightwing. He gets some of the best fights in the first couple episodes. Those who are big fans of Dick Grayson and Corey together are going to be very happy early on. And Corey's always one of my favorite characters. She's always a standout, and we're still continuing to try and look at her new power set here because she has new powers. We kind of don't really know what they are still, and she doesn't either. So we're figuring that out while also incorporating Rachel, who actually now has the ability to control her powers, which is great because that's always been a big crux to her character, that she has not been able to control anything. But we see in episode 2 especially, now that she has control of her powers, she can do some pretty awesome stuff and contribute as a main team member of the Titans. It seems like both Rachel and Corey are being set up here to be the most vital members of the team when it comes to taking on Mother Mayhem when they do have their confrontation, because Mother Mayhem, we don't get a whole lot of her in these first few episodes, but she is a very formidable foe. We see her take on the entire Titans team with pretty much relative ease, and this is just the first of many confrontations I'm going to assume. We are still in the setup stage for setting up all the different villains in the series, at least in the first couple episodes. We don't get a whole lot of Mother Mayhem, we don't get any Brother Blood, but Mother Mayhem Mayhem is pulling the strings here to try and have Brother Blood appear. We do get to see a lot of Sebastian. I'm not as familiar with the actor portraying Sebastian, Joseph Morgan, but I do think he does a great job characterizing this more reserved, troubled character that can be molded into something much more sinister if given the right amount of influence. I did think it was a weird choice though, because backstory reasons, that he's like a part-time taxidermist slash game developer. It sounds so completely ridiculous, you think that I'm making that up, but no, we see him doing taxidermy and he is developing an app, you know, a video game app, which is just such a weird combination. I don't know why they decided to go with that. With season 4 of Titans being broken up into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2, I don't necessarily, at least so far, feel like that's a great idea. Just structurally, there's not much urgency to flesh out the overall story or the villains themselves. We don't get full fleshed out villains in these first few episodes at all. Even in episode 3, we're still putting a lot of the pieces together for the overall story. We're even introducing characters like Jinx. Jinx comes up in episode 3. So I'm really kind of nervous about that aspect because there's no urgency, and I hope that it's not one of those things where it's like part 1 is entirely set up and then part 2, when we get it next year, is all of the payoff. I don't want it to just be one of those situations, and it feels like we're kind of heading down that road here, at least in the episodes that I've seen. More or less, season 4 of Titans is what you've come to expect when it comes to the start of every season of this series, which is kind of all over the place. It's not going to win new fans over by any means. If you're a fan of Titans by now, you're probably in it for the long haul like I am. Really hoping that the show does eventually find its footing, because so far I'm a bit mixed on the episodes as a whole. There's some good moments here, but it's mixed. I mean, it's Titans. Every season's pretty much mixed at this point. But like I said before, the first 2 episodes are going to be airing on HBO Max this week, and then it's going to be 1 episode per week until the end of part 1, and then I'm assuming part 2 is going to be next year in some shape or form, because part 1 ends in December. But I am going to have reviews of every single episode as they drop, so make sure you stay tuned for that on the channel. But now you've heard my thoughts on part 1 of season 4 of Titans. Make sure you share your thoughts down below once you get a chance to check out the episodes. Did you like the episodes? Did you not like the episodes? How are you feeling about the story so far, narratively, the big shocking twists and turns, and also Mother Mayhem and the setup for Sebastian Brother Blood? There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about in the comment section, so make sure you share all your thoughts down below. It's part of the fun is having the conversation with you guys in the comment section. Thank you guys always send the reviews. I always do appreciate it. Be sure to like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so there's update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Next time, we'll see you guys later.